when you actually really face the possibility of dying, you realize how short life is. You can lose it at any time. And I was just like, I'm just going to do what I want to do, what makes me happy, and I'm not going to compromise that for anyone. That's how I've been living ever since, and I guess it's freeing. When I turned 25, a part of me died, but a new version of me was born, and I loved the new version. And looking back, previous to 25, I can't even believe that was me.
Imagine carrying the weight of expectations, silent struggles, and the pressure to always have it together. The Dad Project is a space for open, honest conversations about men's mental health. Raw, real, and long overdue. In Season 2, we go deeper, sharing powerful stories and fresh perspectives from those who've lived it and those who help others through it. Filmed at the Old Court in Windsor, this season is about breaking stigmas, redefining strength, and starting conversations that matter. I'm your host, Naroop Juti. Let's talk. Dylan, why do you think it's important for people to hear your story?
Straight into it.
Straight into it.
I just think in terms of, I always see myself as your normal person, just as everyone else sees themselves as normal people. And I think when you hear other people's stories and you can relate to them or you can learn something from them, there's nothing like that. Like when I hear someone else's story and it either hits me or it resonates with me, that's what stays with me more than, we consume so much every single day, but those things tend to stick with me and I always remember them. So I think with my story, it's just a bit different in a way, but very relatable at the same time. And I think from what I've learned throughout my whole journey up to this point, there's a lot people can take away from it.
So you started life as a young kid who was, in your own words, overweight.
Mm-hmm.
And you were insecure about the way you looked, right?
Very, yeah.
Tell me about life as a child for you.
Confidence was non-existent to me. Like growing up, the people that know me, like friends, family, I was very shy, very quiet, to the point, I remember when I was really young, like we'd have people come around the house, like back then someone would be coming around every single day. I would hide under my dining table until the guests left.
How old were you?
Probably up until 5, 6 maybe at that point.
Right.
And I just remember hiding underneath this dining table, and yeah, the guests would come, they'd know I'm under there, they'd pop their head under and try and speak to me. I'll just be silent, I wouldn't speak, just be hiding there, and then the moment they're gone, I come out. So yeah, confidence was non-existent to me. And I think growing up then, bad habits with food, I ate a lot of crap, gained a lot of weight, and then like stemming into school, not that I got bullied or anything like that, but I just felt a certain way. Like we'd have PE and most of the time I'd bunk it.
Why do you think that was, looking back at it now?
Well, one, I didn't like going to the changing rooms because I'd call myself the fat one. And you'd see like in my school, everyone was quite athletic, or most of the people were quite athletic. So then when you're looking at those guys and you're like, oh shit. So that was one part. And I think the other part, I was just very unfit. So I was like, if they're going to go make me run 400 meters, I know I'm going to be the last one on the track. Don't want that. So yeah, I just bunk PE pretty much, which is weird because of what I do now, but yeah.
It's quite funny. But what I'm hearing is you never felt like you fit in anywhere. Didn't want attention, wanted to hide away. Was there anything that happened at a young age, aside of your weight, that made you feel like that? Because it's normal for kids to feel shy. Like, you know, they feel shy, they don't want to talk to people. I know it's always like my daughter, I need to tell her, say goodbye, say hello.
Yeah.
Right? So that's normal. But what do you think made you want to hide under the table? Because quite an extreme response, if you don't mind me saying, at such a young age.
It is, yeah. At the time, you don't think anything of it, but now when I look back at it, I'm like, yeah, that's not right there. I think for me, it was, I always did feel like I didn't fit in anywhere. Almost like even within my own family, within friend circles. I think at a young age, like me and my sister, I have one sister, she's older than me, we didn't get along.
Mm.
She used to always just tell me that I'm ugly, that I'm embarrassing, as siblings do. And then I think when it came to like family, friends, or relatives and things, all the kids that were around my age or slightly older than me, because I was one of the younger ones, I don't know, they were just very different to me. So I didn't really fit in with them. I didn't really build those strong bonds. Like my sister gets on with so many of them, and I just never really used to speak to them.
Mm.
So I think I just, because of that, I never felt like I fit in. I felt like I was almost like an outcast within those circles. And then I guess the other part is just, yeah, but like, I think growing up, I didn't have anything to boost my confidence. Like I didn't, and this is going to go off on a tangent maybe, but like how I am with my daughter now, for example, I'm so encouraging and I praise her a lot. I didn't have any of that.
So what was your
growing up.
relationship like with your parents?
I had a good relationship in the sense like any normal kid would, but my parents just worked a lot. Immigrants, obviously. My dad, his dad died when he was quite young, so he had to like become the head of the household at a young age. So all my dad's done his whole life is work, and I get it. Like that's what he had to do at that time. But like my parents were never like involved in like my school life or what was actually going on. And I think back then everything was community based. Like when they all came to this country, you had to stick to your communities, and you don't almost want to upset anyone in that community. So I remember there were times where we'd like go to someone's house and a kid would say something nasty to me, and a fight would start, for example. Or there was even a time where a bunch of these kids at like, I think it was like a family friend's house, were playing football. And I tried to play with them and they wouldn't let me play. And then one of them pushed me over. I was young, I was like, again, 6 or something. So I just started crying. And all the adults came out because they saw a kid crying. And instead of the kid who pushed me getting told off for pushing me, I got told off for causing drama, basically. Things like that. So I think that kind of, you almost feel, well, no one's really got my back here. So you kind of just go inwards, if that makes sense.
I totally get that. I was quite naughty when I was young. I'm the one who did the naughty stuff. I got in trouble, so I understand it. How did you manage that at a young age? Do you remember? Did that start showing up as bad behavior? Could that have caused you eating and gaining weight, or how did that show up?
Yeah, I got in trouble a lot. I think everyone always described me as naughty. But even like in school, I'd get in trouble. I remember when I started secondary school, I think it was my first or second week, I got like 3 detentions because I punched one of the kids. Anger. Yeah, violent a little bit. Not violent to the point like I'm out there trying to cause serious harm, but like if someone said something that would piss me off, I wouldn't hesitate to hit them. It was mostly that. I think I ended up just processing it as anger throughout most of my life. And then obviously because of that, you get in trouble a bit more, you're the naughty one, etc.
So from secondary school, you gained weight, low confidence. What was that like for you? You said you weren't bullied, but how did you eventually, get in shape and become this guy now? Tell me about it.
I think it got to a point where I was just like, I don't want to feel like this anymore. And I just bought a pair of dumbbells and that was it. I didn't know what I was doing with them.
How old are you?
About 15.
Yeah, that's quite young.
15. I mean, I think people start younger now, right? But yeah, at that time, no one around me there was a few boys like in the school that used to lift weights and they'd go to like gyms that allowed like younger people. For me, it was just, if I'm being honest, I just wanted to have nice arms. I was just like, I want big arms. I don't know why.
So no legs, no leg day.
Didn't care about legs. Did not know what legs were. I bought dumbbells and I just used to do bicep curls every single day of my life. I'd come home from school and just do bicep curls. Obviously, it didn't get me the big arms because there's more to it than that. But at the time, that's all I knew. And then I think it was more so when I was around 17-ish is when I properly started looking into like nutrition behind things, how to train properly, what leg exercises actually look like. And then I started taking it a bit more seriously, joined the gym. And it was, yeah, the weight came off and stuff, but I just started feeling good and I started feeling a way I'd never felt before. And that was the confidence starting to come from it. I was like, I love this. And then just hooked ever since.
Describe that feeling, because I totally agree. When you start going to the gym and you start feeling good, it does boost your confidence. As people start saying to you, you're looking good, man. There's nothing like that feeling when someone says, you've got a bit of size.
Yeah.
It's great, right? It's a buzz. How would you encourage someone who doesn't understand the benefits of what having a good physical activity routine, going to the gym, etc., what that does for their confidence? How would you describe the need for a man to take care of themselves physically?
Specifically for men?
Yeah.
I think it goes further than just confidence. So I think for someone to actually, I'm not saying you have to have the most amazing physique in the world. You don't need to be ripped, shredded with a six-pack and stuff, but to actually just take care of yourself in that way and commit to something like, I'm going to exercise X amount of times in a week and I'm going to do these sessions and my food is going to start looking like this and I'm going to start walking more, whatever it might be. I think to commit to something like that, I always think your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. And it can show so much. It takes discipline. It takes courage to some degree. It takes patience. It teaches things like delayed gratification. And I think for men especially in the world we live in now, everything is so fast-paced and there's so much going on in a man's head at any given time. For me, it almost became like therapy / meditation. Like that hour or so I spent working out, nothing else in the world mattered to me. Still doesn't. Like I have something heavy down there I need to pick up. I need to pick it up this many times and that's all I'm focused on. And it almost like shuts the noise. So I think it goes further than confidence. And I think what you learn from doing something like that for yourself then transfers into pretty much every single part of your life.
I know what lifting a weight can do for your muscles, but lifting the weight, what does that do for your mind in terms of your mental well-being, in terms of how you view the world and in terms of how you view yourself? Because we talk about fitness as a body thing, but I think it's more about how it makes you feel mentally, right?
100%. I mean, if we're talking scientifically, yeah, it releases endorphins, which are going to make you feel good. And I mean, we have so much in terms of depression, anxiety right now. And I honestly feel like exercise should be the number one prescription for that because it can make a huge difference. And I think mentally for me, it was more of an outlet. Like I did have a lot of anger in me when I was younger. And that was a place to go and take it out in a constructive way. So mentally for me, it was just, an outlet when I felt any sort of way. Even to this day, like if I wake up on the wrong side of the bed, I go to the gym, by the time I come home, I feel good. I'm ready to get on with the day. I don't feel negative in that same sense anymore. So I think mentally it plays a much bigger role than physically. And I think that's what's kept me going all these years. Because I mean, I started, when I was, let's say 15, I'm 35 now, that's 20 years. And for 20 years, I mean, I don't have the best physique in the world, don't get me wrong, but for 20 years to consistently be exercising is not easy. And it has to go further than just the physical side for it to have that sort of longevity.
I love going to the gym. For me, it's like my hobby, one of my favorite pastimes. But I think when I reflect back on it, why am I so dedicated to go? I think it's less about me trying to have muscles and actually build more muscle. I don't think I'm really interested in like ever having the biggest muscles or trying to compete. That doesn't really make a difference. I think it's more about being proud of myself, right? Of holding myself accountable and not saying no when I know I should be saying yes. Is that a healthy way? Is that a healthy relationship to have to physical fitness? Or is that maybe a step too far?
I think so. I'd say, similar. Because I think it's one of those things when you get past certain barriers in the gym, and like you said, you feel proud for doing that. Or even if it's not just barriers, but even just being consistent, for example, and you feel proud that, oh, look, I actually committed to this and I saw it through and I've done it, even when I didn't want to. Like I said, that transfers into other things. And even like a lot of the people that I work with, they say, well, because I've done this and I've achieved this, I am proud, but that makes me feel like now in other parts of my life, like anything's possible then, if I can stick to this and see it through. I don't think it's an unhealthy relationship at all. I think that's what it becomes for most people. I think for most, it starts off aesthetic. Like even for myself, I wanted the big arms, like I said. Now I don't care if I have the biggest muscles or anything. It's more, it shows me what I'm capable of, and it shows me that I put myself first. I say yes to me, even when my brain's telling me to say no. And I think that's very powerful in everything that you do in life. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle in general. They don't say yes to themselves.
What do you think stops people saying yes?
Guilt?
Of?
Guilt in the sense, I guess it's slightly different for men and women. I mean, I can explain it where I experienced it. Like when I had my daughter, and I was religiously going to the gym. And obviously when I've had my daughter and my wife's recovering at home, and I'm like, I really want to go to the gym. But I also felt bad, like just leaving my wife with my daughter and just kind of going out for an hour or so. So I feel like the guilt comes from feeling like you can't put yourself first, and there are other things that are more important. But then I've just learned, and again, even with the women that I work with, when you do put yourself first, that's when everyone else actually benefits. And it got to a point where I even said to my wife, Rin, I was like, I'm going to go crazy if I don't go soon. She's cool though. She was just like, yeah, just do it, whatever, do what you need to do. But even when I've been injured and things and I've not been able to go, she knows I'll go nuts if I don't do something physical. So you can have that guilt, but if you are someone like that needs that sort of an outlet, then it's so important you do put that first, because no one wants me at home just going mad at the end of the day.
I think a lot of people say, I'll die for my family, but how many people say I would live for them? And living for them means being healthy, right?
Looking after yourself.
Look after yourself. I think it's important.
Yeah, I think that I mean, having a kid is just different. I've never experienced anything like it till I've been there. But now, like, I want to be around as long as possible. Like, not that I didn't want to before anyway, but now even more so. I want to be in my daughter's life for as long as I can. I want to see her grow up, experience life, do things, be there for her, all of that. So I have to look after myself, not just physically, but mentally too. I want to make sure I'm in a good mental space for her. So, yeah, like you said, most people will die for their families, but when it comes to living for them, not as easy.
What does it mean to be in a good mental space? How does that show up for you?
For me personally, I had to do a lot of work on myself for that. I think for me, I just want to be the best dad I can for her. Raise her in a way where she's confident, where she's strong, she's capable. I don't want her to grow up like the child that I was. In that sense, I don't want her to be hiding under a table when people come round. And I know for that to happen, I mean, I don't know if you've looked at any studies done around it, but the dad's role is so important for a daughter, and building her self-esteem and building her confidence. So I knew I had to do a lot of work. Just going to the gym wasn't going to cut it. I had to do a lot more inner work for that to happen. So I think being in a good mental space for me just means I need to be happy above and beyond anything.
And what makes you happy?
Oh, so weird. My daughter makes me happy. And there's so many other things that come into your mind on a daily basis that can make you unhappy. So for me, it's like, okay, how do I deal with these situations better? Like previously, if something frustrating happened and I just lost my temper, how do I now deal with that in a different way where I'm not? Or if I've just had a long ass day and the hour before she goes to bed, she just wants to play with me. How do I still make myself do that rather than just slump on the sofa for that hour and give her what she needs? So yeah, I think for me, just being happy is I'm happy. I'm the happiest. It sounds so cheesy, but I'm the happiest when she is actually happy, and I can't describe that.
No, I get it. I watched this clip and someone said, if you want to be happy, just remove the things in life that make you unhappy. Sometimes it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
This thing doesn't make me happy. I want to stop doing that. I don't feel good after I do this. I want to stop doing that. So when you were at the gym, 17, when you're at home training 17 with the dumbbells, and you're seeing change, were you happy? Did that make you start feeling confident?
Initially, yeah. I think that's what you realize about the aesthetic side of things. You're never going to be 100% happy. Like, you're always going to pick flaws in your physique or in your body, right? Like, I don't like how that looks. Okay, I've got big arms now, but my shoulders aren't that great, or my chest isn't that great, or my legs or whatever. So I think initially, yeah, it can make you a lot happier when you see these changes happening, because it did. But then it always gets to a point where it's just like, it's never ending. You're chasing something that has no end. So that's when you need to like just step back and start thinking about, why am I actually doing this? Is it for the physique, or is there another reason, a more intrinsic reason behind why I'm doing this now? And I think unless people figure that out, that's when they struggle to stay consistent with it for so long.
So you were healthy though, late teens, early 20s?
Healthy as you can be, yeah. I wouldn't say I was super healthy. I'd say I started trying to be a bit more healthier in my early 20s. Up until then, it was just exercising to try and get big, to try and get strong, just eating loads. I was still eating crap, don't get me wrong. Went to uni, was still drinking a lot. So I wouldn't say that was healthy, especially at uni. Those 3 years were probably the 3 unhealthiest years of my life.
That's the same for all of us.
Yeah. But I think after uni is when I started looking at health more, and then probably, from my mid-20s onwards is when I really started paying more attention to the actual health side of things.
But something happened, didn't it? Mid-20s.
Yeah, so 2025 I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a type of blood cancer. So it was diagnosed at stage 4B. So I think I went to the GP literally like 2 weeks before my 25th birthday, and on my 25th birthday was my appointment with the haematologist, where she said, yeah, this is pretty much what you've got. So I found out on my 25th birthday, and then after that it was like, okay, now I actually need to, it's not just about exercising and getting protein in and stuff like that. I need to actually figure out what's going on with my health. And health, when we say health, I don't just mean physical, like it's very multifaceted. And I really had to take it apart and figure it all out.
So let's go back to that. 25 years old, you've been healthy. Obviously, you've just been eating stuff like any young man would. Like, you have a burger here and the drink's fine. No one worries about cancer at that age. You had no signs, nothing showing up to make you think something's wrong with me. You would just thought you were normal, going for a routine checkup, and then...
No, I had all the signs.
Oh, you did?
I just didn't know they were signs of cancer.
What were the signs?
I had crazy itchy skin.
Okay.
Like really itchy, my arms and legs especially. My legs really, like I'd scratch my legs till they were bleeding. And I used to carry a tub of body butter around with me. Like, because when I used to go to work, I'd have it in my bag and I'd just sit at my desk like rubbing it on my legs. I just thought I had dry skin, like really dry skin, and the body butter would help. Turns out that was one of the symptoms. I used to get night sweats quite bad. Like, when I say quite bad, very bad. Like I used to wake up and my bed was drenched to the point I had to change all my clothes, change the sheets. And that would happen at least twice a night, sometimes more. But I'm a very hot person. Like I get hot very easily. Most nights now, even I still sleep with a fan on. And this was like during the summer, so I just thought maybe it's just hot and I'm getting hot. Oh. Obviously now looking back at it, that's not right. Like I should have got checked at that point. Fatigue like crazy. I could not describe to people how, like, when you're talking to me, like, I'm tired, and like, I'm tired too. And it was kind of like, no, I don't think you understand how tired I am. Like, it was in the bones. Like I can't describe it. But again, I used to work really long hours. The job I had at the time was very demanding, very cutthroat. So like I wouldn't finish work until maybe 11 p.m. midnight, and then I'd be up at half four the next morning training, then going to work again.
You work in the city, right?
Yeah, I used to. So I used to work in recruitment. So I'd come home from work maybe around 7, half 7, eat dinner, jump back on my laptop, carry on working till late, sleep a few hours, wake up, exercise, then head off to the office again, do it again every single day. I used to work on weekends, so I was just working a lot. So my fatigue I just put down to, you're tired because you're working a lot and you're traveling and all of this. And then I also had some lumps on my neck. I honestly just thought it was my muscles growing because they were really like firm, like they were solid. And I was like, okay, good. And then one of my mates, one of my best friends, he actually used to work with me. And one day he was just like, "What's that on your neck?" And I was just like, "Yeah, I've been training hard." And he was just like, "Okay." But then I used to do a lot of martial arts, and I remember one day I went for my training in the morning, and something just felt uncomfortable under my arm, and then I kind of felt under there, and there was like a really firm lump in there, and that's when I was like, "This don't feel right." So then I went to work the next day, and I just said to my manager, "Do you mind if I like just pop out for an hour? I just really want to go to the doctors and get this checked out." Back when it was easier to just get an appointment with the doctor on the day even. And she was like, "Yeah, cool, go." And went to the doctors. As soon as she felt the ones on my neck, printed out a piece of paper. She didn't say a word. She just printed out a piece of paper, and I just saw cancer referral form at the top. And I was just like, shit.
And how did that make you feel?
Scared. Yeah, you're scared. You see that word, right? I feel like that word cancer has so much weight behind it. And especially at that age, you don't expect anything like that. Right? When you're 25, you feel invincible. You're young, and I feel like you're always told, right? Serious illnesses, like young people don't get them, only old people do. So you don't expect anything like that. So yeah, when I saw it, I was just like, shit, what does this mean? And then she was just like, "I'm just going to refer you to see a haematologist. I can't say if it is that or not, but I just have concerns." So I was like, okay, cool. And then 2 weeks later was that the follow-up I had.
You came home, told your parents, told your family after that first appointment?
No, after they told me that when they confirmed the first appointment.
Because
I don't think I did.
Really?
I don't think I did.
So I sometimes think when someone's diagnosed with cancer, you can't help but think the worst, right?
At that point, because it wasn't actually a diagnosis and it was just the referral form, I think I told like my friends. So my wife Rin, we were friends at the time, and I remember I told her like, "This is what's happened." I think I told my sister. I don't think I told everyone straight away though. I think I just needed to digest it myself, and then maybe like a couple of days later I started telling them. But then myself and everyone else, you're kind of still in that mindset of it's probably not that, right? Or I'll be honest, I thought from the get-go this is what it is, but I almost was trying to convince myself that it's not. But deep down I knew it was. And then obviously everyone around you isn't going to say, "Oh yeah, it probably is." So everyone else is like, "Oh no, it's not. Let's just wait for them to do tests and see what they say." So yeah, I don't think initially I told anyone like straight away. It was probably like a couple of days after.
So on your 25th birthday, like you said, you get diagnosed with stage 4B cancer. What does that mean? How bad was that?
So stage 4 is when it spread to your organs. So I had a tumor in my lung, so it had spread to my lung. So I had 3 in my neck, 1 under my arm that I went and got checked, and then there was 1 in my lung. So once it spreads past like just one area, then it goes past like stage 1 and 2, and then when it spreads to an actual organ or more, then it's stage 4. So yeah, it's quite serious at that point. I'd had it for about 2 years before I was actually diagnosed.
Wow. So then you must have been scared.
Yeah, shit myself.
Yeah.
But I didn't show it. I still have these text messages on my phone from my sister like, "Are you okay?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, I'm fine. It's fine." But I think for the first for the first, I'd say at least 2 to 3 days after being diagnosed, I genuinely thought I was going to die.
Wow.
Like I was just like, because I didn't know much about it. I didn't know much about the cancer. I just knew I had a type of cancer. It's at stage 4. Shit. Like that's it for me pretty much. But then I think after 2, 3 days, I started wrapping my head around things a bit more.
Did you feel like immediately, okay, I'm going to fight this. I'm going to get through this. I'm not going to let this kill me? Or were you like deflated? Like, oh my God, that's it. It's over. It's done.
First 2, 3 days deflated completely. Yeah, I was just like, that's it. I don't know how long I've got. I'm sure the doctors will tell me at some point, but I just thought that's it. Because I at that time as well, there wasn't like so much online and stuff. Like anytime you heard of someone getting cancer, you pretty much then heard of them dying. So I was like, well, if I've got it, then I have the same outcome. Then I started researching into it a lot more, and then I just felt like it's fine. I always kind of looked at it as like it's an illness, just like any other illness. You take whatever medicine you need to take for it, you get better, you recover, and then you carry on with life. And that's how I kind of just, that's the mindset I went into it with. Like, it's going to be really shit for this period of time. I'm going to have to do what I need to do, but I will get better, and then life goes on. But yeah, initially I thought it's game over.
So what was your treatment?
So I had chemotherapy, which is horrible.
Describe it.
You go into this room where everyone else is having chemotherapy. You sit. They give you like a nice comfy sofa that reclines, brilliant, and then they put a drip in you. So you can have it in different ways. I had it through my hand. You can get a port put straight into your chest, but then that's on you for like 6 months. And I was like, I don't want that on me for 6 months. That's like a reminder every single day. So I was like, I'd rather just have a drip put into my hand, and then they just pump you full of chemicals. Like, yeah, some of it's not nice. It burns. Some of the chemicals like burn your veins. I had veins collapse during it, which is crazy painful. The side effects of it are horrible. Nauseous 24/7, like just falling asleep, no energy. You literally just feel like you're dying anyway. So yeah, it's not fun.
Did you lose your hair?
Yeah, all of it. Everywhere. You lose it all over your body. Like, I mean, I'm fairly hairy, but it all went literally to the point my eyelashes even went. And I'd wake up in the morning and my eyelids would be stuck together, and I'd have to literally use my finger and thumb to like pull them apart.
Wow.
That's when I realized how important eyelashes are.
Yeah. So doing that chemo, what was your support system like? People around you?
Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
My family were brilliant. Never went to a chemo session alone. Anything I needed, they were there. Like, so I went down a holistic route at the same time as the chemo. So like my diet changed a lot, and the foods that I was started to eat, you couldn't just get them from like normal supermarkets and things. So my sister would like go and find them or go online and get them. So family were brilliant. Close friends were great, because it's a very isolating period of time. Like, you see everyone else kind of getting on with their life, and it was during the summer as well, which is the worst, because everyone's out having fun and you're just at home. Like, I can't even move right now. So I used to like go on walks every single day, like long walks. And at the time, some of my friends were either not in work, or like some of them were like teachers and things, so they had summer holidays. So they'd come on walks with me just to give me company, etc. So yeah, support circle around me was brilliant. I can't knock it.
Tell me about your diet, because I heard alkaline food is really good.
Yeah, so I started eating more alkaline. I only used to this day, even now, I still only eat predominantly organic food. Our bodies function better in an alkaline state. And unfortunately, the modern diet is very acidic. And cancer thrives in acidic environments. So the idea behind it was, if I can just create a very alkaline environment in my body, it can help almost kill off the cancer cells, essentially. Apart from just diet, that's when I started really looking into things like meditation and breath work, because again, cancer struggles to survive in highly oxygenated areas. So I thought, if I can get my body to be as oxygenated as possible through my breathing gives me a better chance. Any little thing that I could do, I was like, I'm going to do it. So yeah, I was pretty much on a vegan diet at that point. Looking back at it, just lots of vegetables that were alkaline. Stop any food that was even slightly acidic. I'd have like don't get me wrong, I'd treat myself every now and then to like chicken and chips or something, just because you go crazy otherwise. But yeah, I'd say for the most part it was that. One of my friends, so this was crazy. I don't know if you're familiar with like Ayurvedic treatment. So he used to go and see this lady who practices it, and he was like, "She's brilliant. Go and see her." And at this time, I'm just like so skeptical about these things. I'd just been diagnosed, and I was like, "Look, let me just have my chemotherapy, and I'll just deal with it." Right? He was like, "Just go and see her for my sake. If you don't want to do anything she says, don't do it. Cool." So I was like, "All right, go on then." So I went to see her, and she blew my mind. Like she absolutely blew my mind. She checked my pulse, and she does everything through the pulse. And he'd not told her a single thing about me, just my friend wants to come and see you. And first she was like, "You've got a cancerous pulse. Have you got any health issues?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've been diagnosed with cancer like the other week." And she was like, "Okay." And then I was like, "But at that point, I didn't know he hadn't told her anything. So I was like, maybe he's just told her that this is why he's coming. And but I've actually got like bulging discs in my lower back. And I could see her like with her finger on my pulse, and she's got her eyes closed, and she's just going like L1, L2, L3. And exactly where I've got a bulging disc, she stopped there and she's like, "You've got a problem in your lumbar spine." And I was like, my mum doesn't even know that.
Wow.
Like, how did you figure that out from my pulse? And then after that, I was all ears. And I was just like, right, well, what do we do? And she's the one who basically made me change my whole diet. She prescribed me like lots of different herbs. I was taking, like they were in pill form, I was taking 30 plus pills of these herbs per day because they don't have side effects. So she was like, they're completely safe to take even if you're having chemo. She did ask me like, do you want to go through chemotherapy or do you want to do this purely naturally? And at that time, I was scared. I was like, I'm still going to have the chemo. Like if that I know that's going to keep me alive, I'm still doing it. But I'm more than happy to do what you tell me to do as well. And she was like, in that case, it's just got to be damage limitation. That chemo is going to wreak havoc on your body. So we need to do everything that we can to keep that minimal. So after it, your recovery is as smooth as possible. So the diet changes, all the herbs that I was taking, part of it was to help with the cancer, but part of it was to keep damage from the chemotherapy to a minimum. And I can't prove whether it worked or not, but the best way I can describe it is my recovery post chemo was very fast. Like I bounced back from it very quickly. And I speak to a lot of people that have had the same, like Hodgkin's lymphoma, and have only purely gone down the chemo route. And I know of people that have only had like even stage 1 and they've relapsed so many times since their treatment. One of the girls that I know, she's actually now waiting for a stem cell transplant because she's relapsed so many times. Whereas, I mean, touch wood, I've not had anything like since my treatment. So I do think that helped massively. Again, that's just like the food side of it. But she also introduced me, like I said, to meditation, breathwork, things I wasn't doing before. She got me to defragment my whole life and look at where I wasn't happy, what's not aligning with me as a person, as a soul, as a spirit, and really look at health in such a broad way. And I think that played a massive role in my treatment and recovery.
So you're quite skeptical or critical of how cancer and treatment is viewed by the health system, right? And you have your own opinion on how it should be seen, how it should be treated. Tell me a little bit about that, and tell me why you've backed out of working with certain organizations because they didn't align with what you believe in.
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. When I was diagnosed, and before I started chemotherapy, you have an appointment with a doctor and a nurse, I believe, and they just give you like a heads up on how it's going to go. This is probably like how you're going to feel, the side effects you're going to have, etc. And you can ask them any questions. And I remember they were talking about like food, and they basically said you're going to need to eat throughout your treatment. We need to keep your appetite up. So you need to eat as much as possible, even if you don't feel like it, because your body needs to be strong enough to fight the cancer. And at that time, I used to go to the pub every week with my mates. So I was like, can I still go and have a beer? And she was like, yeah, you can. And I said, well, if I don't feel hungry because of the chemo, like what would I do? And she was like, have things that are super high in calories, like have milkshakes, for example. And now doing my own research, alcohol is probably one of the worst things you can put into your body when you have cancer and when you're having chemotherapy on top of that. Dairy is one of the things I actually cut out when I was having chemotherapy, because chemotherapy basically makes your digestive system stop working. And dairy is much harder for the digestive system to process and break down. So when you think about it logically, you're telling me to consume things that don't make sense with the treatment that I'm having or the illness that I have. It kind of goes against it. And that's when I really started questioning things. And then I was just like, it's not their fault. They're taught from a textbook that just tells them this. And I get that their priority is you need to keep your calories up because you need to be strong enough to fight the cancer. But it's not, at that point, I'm not fighting the cancer. I'm fighting the chemotherapy. And then when I started doing like all these other practices, and then I started realizing it's so much more than the physical. Like looking back at it now, I genuinely feel I got the cancer that I did because that was my body trying to give me a wake-up call. I was deeply unhappy with so many parts of my life. And the things I was doing in my life weren't aligning with me as a person. And my body had probably sent me warning signs saying, you can't keep living like this, like something's got to change. And I just didn't listen to it. So it forced me to listen. And I think a lot of it comes down to the mental side. And when I said earlier, we have different facets to health. We have our physical health. And I feel like when it comes to your traditional medicine in that sense, or Western medicine, that's the focus. It's physical. It's the physical health and the different chemicals we can put in. Whereas I also feel like there's emotional health, there's mental health, and there's spiritual health. And I think unless all four of those are aligned, you're going to have issues that manifest physically. So I used to work with some charities to help raise awareness for lymphoma. And then some of the things I used to say like that, they didn't agree with, and they didn't want me saying them. They were like, we don't want people to feel a certain way. And I get that as well. Because if you're telling someone, well, your mindset plays a part in it, then people can almost start blaming themselves for getting an illness. So I understand it, but I was like, but if this is what I believe, this is what I believe. And I just ended up not working with them anymore.
How would you describe that to somebody when you say your mindset is causing it, or is your body giving you a sign that just, why would your body give you a sign? You're in control of your body. You know what you're doing. How's your body telling you something that you don't already know?
Your body has one job and one job only, and that's to keep you alive. It doesn't care about anything else. If you're going to the gym to get big muscles, you're going to the gym to lose weight, you're walking, you're sitting on your sofa, whatever you're doing, it does not care. All it cares about is, how do I keep this person alive? How do I keep this entity alive? So when things aren't aligning with it, it's going to try and tell you, like, I can't keep going like this. So
what does it mean, aligning with it? What does that mean?
So for me, it was a case of, when I did dissect my life, if I took my job first of all, I hated my job. It paid me very well, but I had to be a bit of a nasty person to do well in that job. And I'm not that person in my core. I would like to think I'm a good-hearted person, and in that job, you can't be a good-hearted person. You have to be a bit of an arsehole. And I was like, that's not me, but that's what I have to be every day to actually perform at my job. If I then look at my relationships, I wasn't happy in them. I was with a partner at the time, and we had grown apart, but we were still sticking out that relationship, God knows why. But I wasn't happy in it, but I was just still trying to stick it out. That didn't align with me, because I was like, I knew deep down, this isn't the person for me, essentially, right? Even in terms of my family and friends, because I was working so much, I was barely seeing them. Whereas I am someone who cares a lot about the people that are close to me. Don't get me wrong, I don't have a big circle at all, but the circle I have, I die for them. So when I'm not being able to spend time with them or see them and I'm feeling very isolated, that doesn't align with me. So things like that, when I broke down all these different parts of my life, and if I just ask myself a basic question, are you happy with this? All of them came out as no, pretty much. And my body would have known that, because your body's going to feel a certain way. Even with my job, for example, like stress was super high all the time. So when you've constantly got stress hormones like cortisol pumping around your body, you might not feel any different. You might just feel stressed, but your body's like, mate, I can't keep doing this. I'm working overtime just to keep you going at the moment. So that's when it's going to try and tell you something. And sometimes it will send you, like when I say signals, I mean like you might get a cold. It might force you to slow down a little bit. That's like, I fully think that every time I get sick now is when I'm quite burnt out, when I've not rested enough, and it's my body saying you need to slow down. So I'm more attuned to that. Whereas before I was getting sick, but I was just taking medicine and knocking it back and then cracking on. Whereas now when I do get even a cold, I'm like, okay, I probably do need a rest then. So it does send you signals in that sense, physically. And yeah, I just feel like if you don't listen to it, eventually it's just going to have to smack you in the face and make you listen.
So your cancer was an awakening?
Definitely.
And what did it awaken? What man?
Changed the whole trajectory of my life. I think I just stopped giving a shit, if I'm being honest.
Of what?
Everything.
What does that mean? What does that look like?
I think when you actually really face the possibility of dying, it sounds cliche, but you realize how short life is. You can lose it at any time. And I was just like, I'm not going to waste another minute of my life living a certain way because of what I think I need to do, or what others think I need to do, or what others might think of me, or whatever it is. I was like, I'm just going to do what I want to do, what makes me happy, and I'm not going to compromise that for anyone or anything. And that's how I've been living ever since. And I guess it's freeing. I kind of think of it almost like a rebirth in that sense. Like when I turned 25, a part of me died, but a new version of me was born, and I loved the new version. And looking back previous to 25, I can't even believe that was me.
Tell me about the new version.
Happy. Happy in every part of my life. That's when I decided to stop working in the job I was working in. And I was like, I'm just going to pursue what I actually enjoy doing, which was crazy to the people around me at the time, because I was earning a lot of money doing what I was doing, and I was literally leaving it to become a personal trainer at the time, and everyone was like, are you crazy? Like, you're leaving such a high-paying job to go and work in a gym. And I think that comes from a lot of people worry about money, a lot of people worry about like status and things like that. And I was like, I don't give a shit. I love being in a gym. I love the energy, and that's where I want to be every single day. Obviously, I ended up with Rin, who's now my wife, and I always knew that was the person for me. I have much better relationships with my friends, my family. I think, if anything, the cancer brought my family a bit closer together. And I'd say more so with me. I wouldn't say I'm still the most open with my family. I've just never really had that relationship with them, but I'm a lot more open to things. So it brought us a bit closer together. I think even now that I have a daughter, the things that I want to teach her and what I want to instill in her is so much different to that version of me that was 25 years old. Back then, yeah, I probably would have told her, like, you need to work hard, you need to get a job, you need to... Now I just want to teach her, do whatever makes you happy. I've got you 100%. Whatever the hell you want to do with your life, go do it. Regardless of what it pays or what people think. Yeah, and I think that's the biggest turning point for me. I think it's just allowed me to live unapologetically.
When you were going for your cancer, what was your mental health like?
Up and down.
Yeah.
Have your good days, you have your bad days. I think sometimes it's all good, and you're like kind of almost proud of yourself, like I'm doing so well with this, and I know it's hard. And there's a lot of positive self-talk and reinforcement. But then I think you also have your bad days where kind of almost going, it's funny, it's like full circle, but where I used to hide underneath the table. I remember when I was having my chemotherapy and sometimes people would come around the house and I'd pretend to be asleep just because I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want to see anyone. I just wanted to be by myself. There was one time where a family friend came around unannounced, and I used to live with my parents at the time, and I was in the sitting room lying down on the sofa, and it was quite far into my chemotherapy, so I didn't have a lot of energy in me at that point. I was like, I couldn't move quickly. I guess if I had the energy, I probably would have run upstairs before the front door opened and pretended I was sleeping. I didn't have time to do that. I just closed my eyes, and the whole time they were there, I just pretended to be asleep on the sofa. I didn't want to speak to anyone. I didn't want them asking me how I am, or they didn't want to talk about it. So I think you have your good times, and it's a roller coaster. Honestly, you feel every emotion under the sun, the good and the bad.
What were you feeling when you were lying on the sofa?
When are these lot going to go home?
What was it? What was it emotionally? Was it like shame of having it?
No, I did feel that at the beginning. Then I just owned it almost. At that time, because it was quite far into my chemo, it wasn't really shame. It was just, I was just fed up. Really fed up of feeling like shit every single day. And you know, sometimes when you just want to be by yourself, and you know they're going to come in and they're going to start asking you how you're doing, and not patronizing, but the way people talk to you when you're having chemotherapy is very different to how they normally talk to you. And I get it comes from a place of caring, but sometimes I don't want to talk about it. Like, I didn't like, I guess, my whole personality just had become cancer to people at that point. Like, anything anyone would ever only talk to me about was cancer. And you just get fed up with it sometimes. So I was like, I don't want to talk to anyone.
What would you have wished they had done instead? Because half of it is people understanding what they should talk to you about. Because if they don't, then it's a bit insensitive. If I don't ask him how he is, he's going to think I don't care.
No, I get that.
So what would you have liked?
I think they could. It's not so much asking like how you're doing, but I think then
treat you normally.
Just treat me, yeah, like there is no illness. Like, what would you ask me if you were here on any other day and I wasn't sick? Would you ask me about work, or would you ask me about what I've been up to, or whatever else, rather than just asking purely about cancer? Yeah, and it wasn't just them. It was sometimes it was like that with anyone, like friends, family. Lots of times, sometimes you just get fed up of that. Almost just consumes your life, right? And you're like, I don't want to talk about this anymore.
What do you think gave you hope in that time, man? Because I think part of the battle with cancer and overcoming challenges like that is having hope. Is that mindset that I'm gonna beat this? It's easy to say I just didn't want to die, right? I think that's everyone understands that. But then, what is it that you really want to live for?
I wanted what I have now. I knew I wanted to come out of this. I wanted to marry. Well, I knew I wanted to marry Rin at that point, to be fair. She might not have known it, but I did.
So it was her.
Yeah, I knew I wanted to get married. I knew I wanted to have a kid. I've wanted a child or children. And I was like, there's so much more I still want to live for. I don't think it was ever a case of I don't want to die. It was more a case of I still want to live. Because there's so much I still want to do in my life. I'm not ready to call it a day here. I think that was it. It was just more the determination to be like, this isn't the end. Yeah.
I think a lot of the time when someone goes through a really traumatic time, they have a shift in almost like a soul level. Everything changes, right? They see the world through a different lens. And I remember I was chatting to you on a Zoom call, and you said you've become much more spiritual, much more about learning about the soul, purpose, your journey. Tell me a little bit about that.
Such a big topic. I think
let's go into it.
I think, like I said before, I was very black and white, which is why when my friend told me to go see this lady, it was all skeptical, and I never ever looked at I never looked at myself as a soul. I always looked at myself as a person, as most people do. The physical here. And I think this is going to sound so crazy, but I remember having this moment, and I remember speaking to Rin about this at the time. I always called it an epiphany. I don't know if that's the word to describe what happened, and it's going to sound so crazy, but there was this moment I was in my mum and dad's house, and I walked into the sitting room, and I went to sit down on the sofa. And this was during my chemotherapy. And in that, how long does it take to go from standing to sitting? Like a split second. In that moment, I don't know what happened in my head, but it was almost like I saw the future. And I messaged Rin straight away because she was a part of it. And I said to her, I don't know what just happened, but I know I have a much bigger future ahead. And I know that you're going to be a big part of it. At this point, we weren't even going out or anything like that. And I said, I don't know why, but it was almost like a feeling. It wasn't even like I saw anything. It was like I felt something that I can't describe. And I said to her, I don't know what it is. I don't know how, but you are going to be a big part of it. And it was to the point where this was around, I'd say like July, August time of that year. And I said, it's going to be from like February next year onwards. I don't know why. I don't know where I got that from or anything. And I can't even describe to you like what I felt in that time. Crazy thing is, me and her got together that following March. And it wasn't until I looked back at it and I was like, I still can't tell you what happened. And that's when I started really looking at things in a different way. I started reading a lot more and looking into like more in terms of like us being soul, spirit, like different dimensions, even like healing on a spiritual level. There's so much manifestation in terms of not just the manifestation you see where people are trying to like manifest £1 million, but even in terms of like how things even manifest physically in our bodies, illnesses, things like that, that obviously related to the cancer. There was so much of it that I started looking into, and that's when I guess I started seeing myself as a soul. Like even to this day, like this is just my physical body. This is not me. And I think that is almost life-changing in itself, because your perception of the world is so different.
How do you perceive the world now?
Temporary. I think I used to place so much importance on this life, and I genuinely believe like I am a soul. I don't know the best way to describe this. Like we are all connected as one being, and this is where I started leaning more away from religion and more into spirituality, like this idea of God. Like I do believe in a higher power, but I believe we are all a part of it. We're all interconnected in that sense. Our souls are all energy. The whole energy can't be created, it can't be destroyed. But we all come from this one place. And this is just my belief that we were in this other place as our soul, not physical. And we said, look, I'm going to come to this world to have a physical experience, and the whole purpose of that is for me to learn about myself, whatever it is that I need to learn. Once I've done that learning, I'm going to return back up here again. And then if at that point I still have stuff I need to learn, then I might come back again in a different way. So this is me right now. This is my soul right now learning what it needs to learn. Once it has, I will be gone from this world back to wherever the hell that was. And then we'll see where I go from there. But I don't see this as like the be all and end all anymore. So previously, like when I thought, oh shit, I'm going to die, that was very finite. Whereas now don't get me wrong, I still have my struggles with the concept of death sometimes, but now I have almost a comfort in knowing it isn't the end, if that makes sense.
It makes sense, man, because I also did similar research and learning and understanding about myself. I'd actually share your exactly same beliefs.
Yeah.
And there is a sense of comfort in there, but it's very hard to talk about it to people. Because I'm sure you've spoken to people and they kind of look down at their glass like, okay, dude. But it's okay. Everyone has their own beliefs, and that's perfectly fine. But I think it takes something extreme to shift your consciousness and shift your mindset. Start leaning in towards meditation. start leaning into stillness, understanding greater purpose. You've now, from having had the cancer, always being into fitness, you created DNA Fitness, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
It gets a vehicle for you to share your learnings and teachings with people. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously the name DNA Fitness, that stemmed from when I first ever started all of this. I was just a personal trainer. I just used to help people work out. Whereas I'll be honest, like now the work that I do with people is probably more 80% around mindset and identity and purpose than it is around exercise and nutrition.
Wow.
It's probably, 80-20 split, I'd say. So I think over the years, the more I've learned and the more I've experienced, I guess I'm trying to help people in a much deeper way than, all right, let's help you lose some weight and look good.
I know you work with women, but if I came to you as a potential client and you said 80% of your work is mindset, identity, etc., what would you do? How would that look?
So the way I try and describe it to people is most people will come to me because of a way they're feeling. Like if they want to lose weight, it's because they're feeling a certain way. So we keep asking why. Why do you want to lose the weight, for example? Right? Then when you ask why enough, like that annoying kid that always asks why, you get to the deeper reasons in terms of what's happening inside this person's mind right now. Right? Once you figure that out, then you can get to the root cause of these issues. So for example, for a lot of the women that I work with, emotional eating is a huge part of it. And then it's dissecting then where that comes from. Is that from previous trauma that you've had? Is that from even generational trauma that's been passed down to you? Is it what you've just picked up from your parents, and where did they get it from then? Was that trauma on their end? And you can go really deep with this, and then you figure out that's the reason you've always struggled with your food. It's not been a case of, oh, you need to eat this many calories and this is how much protein you need to be eating. It's actually rewiring your brain and your thought patterns from what you've known up until this point in your life. When it comes to the identity side of things, similarly, I think mums are probably the best example for this. When they become mums, they have a massive identity shift and no one teaches you how to deal with that. It's the same as like if you were to come to me and you were like, I've just become a dad. No one teaches you, like your identity changes overnight. You've just changed into a dad now from just a man. And no one teaches you how to navigate around that while still following your purpose or living the way that you want to live or doing the things that are important to you. So there's so much that goes into actually transforming. I don't like even saying transforming a person. And again, it will sound very cheesy, but I would rather transform a person's life. Like when you have someone come and say, for the first time in like 20 years, I actually feel good in myself. It's not about how much I weigh. It's not even about the clothes that I'm wearing. I just feel confident in myself. I'm no longer hanging on to my past traumas. I've done that side of the work now. Like, these are the real transformations that I want in people. And I just want to show people, like, if I can change my life and I can live just 100% being myself and be happy and content with that, regardless of what my weight is or what's going on in my life, or all these problems that people seem to think that they have, I want to pass that on to people as well. And I want to show them how to live in that way. So that's why I'd say it's more 80% mindset and identity work. I think most people on the surface, it might be like a weight problem or how they're looking, or my clothes aren't fitting me anymore, my dress size has gone up. But I think if you, like I say, it's like an onion, you peel back the layers of the onion and you get to the middle, there's so much that's going on with people. And I don't think in the fitness world, in that industry, it's ever really considered. It's always around like exercise and protein and calories and things.
What do you think someone can do if they are not feeling good? They're not quite ready to become a client of DNA Fitness, but they want to shift. What can someone do to start feeling good, to start addressing, the root cause? Because I agree, you can do these things to lose some weight, but you've got to understand why you want to lose the weight. Well, how can someone understand their cause, and what are some takeaways, some tips that you can give for someone to at least start that journey to feeling better?
There's a couple of things. There's a really amazing thing. I think first people need to understand where they're at. Unless you're ready to make that shift, it's quite scary. There is something that Tony Robbins speaks about called the 6 core human needs. I don't know if you've ever come across it.
No.
Very, very interesting stuff. I teach this to every single woman that I work with. And it basically says, as human beings, we all have one of 6 core needs. For example, there's certainty, which is the need to feel safe. So you're against change. You're in your like comfort space. You don't want to do anything that's risky or out of your comfort zone. Then you have uncertainty, where it's the opposite, where you're constantly chasing the new and you're trying to put yourself out there more and experience more things. Then you have, for example, growth, which is where you're trying to learn as much and grow as a person. Like there's 6 in total. And I think the first step is just identifying where you are right now. Because a lot of the times, for example, if you came to me and said, I want help with this, that, and the other, and you're in certainty, that means you're feeling a certain way where anything outside of your comfort zone is very scary to you. And I don't mean scary in the sense where it's just where your subconscious physically won't let you do anything. You'll create reasons in your own mind as to what it will try and protect you. And it will say, no, you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that. This is the better option for you, even though it's not. So when you can identify what your core need is first, then you know what's going to actually support you best in that. So if I have, and this is why I get all the girls that I work with to do it very early on, because if I have someone come to me who's in certainty and I'm trying to get them to do a million different things that they've never done before, they're going to repel that. And eventually they're just going to go back into their shell and carry on as they were. So for people like that, it has to be very small steps. Like you have to almost just get them to, the way I describe it is someone in certainty is living in a cave. And they're not just going to walk out of that cave because that's their comfort space. But you might have to get them to just like maybe stick a finger out or stick a toe out first. Then maybe just peek out. And then they'll eventually feel comfortable coming out of that cave. Someone in uncertainty is the opposite. They can't wait to get out of the cave. But then they're going to be wanting to do a million different things. So it's then about reining that in, because if you do too much too soon as well, that can also get very overwhelming or defy the point of what we're trying to achieve. So I think understanding what your core need currently is super important. But if that's a bit too deep, I'd say that the number one thing I would recommend to anyone is journaling. I know it sounds everyone bangs on about it, but for me, it's been so life-changing. And when I say journaling, I don't mean just even writing like what you did in your day or anything like that. I think a very simple way, if someone's like trying to make a change and they're kind of stuck, I call it a brain dump. You just get a piece of paper, everything you have in your mind, just write it down. Fear or worry, something you're excited about, whatever it is, anything. Keep writing until your brain has nothing left in it. Not in any order, messy as you like. And then if you want to, you can start organizing it and you can start seeing like, look, these are the things I want to do. Obviously, I'm thinking about, these are the things that I'm worried about. These are potentially holding me back. These are fears or whatever it might be. A brain dumping like that, I think, can really give you a bit more clarity. Like we have so much going on in our mind all the time. So it kind of just helps. I describe it as, this is a computer and the piece of paper is like an external hard drive. We just need to download it all from here onto there just to free up a bit more space here. And that's when you can really start getting a lot more clarity in your own mind when it's quite congested. So any form of journaling, it doesn't have to be a brain dump, but just writing things down.
I know you work with women. How much of what you teach is also applicable to men?
A lot. I'd say the only things that really aren't applicable to men, what we teach about like hormones and menstrual cycles, and because biologically and hormonally men are different. But in terms of what we teach around mindset, in terms of what we teach around identity and having the type of structure in your life, I think that benefits everyone. Because, for example, I'm a big advocate of therapy. And not just for women, I think men also. Or if I'm an advocate of journaling, not just for women, for men also. So I think a lot of it can be transferable between both. Say most of it, apart from the hormonal and the real biological side of things that we teach and work on, anyone can implement the rest of it.
Mm. Do you have therapy now?
I haven't for a while.
Mm.
I think the last time, maybe, I had a lot before my daughter was born, and I think I had a couple of sessions after. So maybe it's been about 1.5 years or so since my last session.
What were you talking about? What was it that you felt you needed to address?
I just think I knew I was becoming a dad. So when Rin was pregnant, and I was like, if I want to be the best dad possible, I know there's stuff about me that I need to work on. And I just wanted to see someone about it. And I think the biggest things I actually learned through therapy weren't even about myself. They were about my parents and how I was raised and their lives. And you start seeing things in different ways. Like I see so much more, for example, from my dad's perspective now that I never saw before. And I think that helps me with my own journey of being a dad.
What did you see?
So like I said earlier, my parents worked a lot. And my dad was almost like, I used to be scared of him. Like if I got in trouble and they were like, I'm going to tell your dad when he comes home, I'm sorry. So there was that fear element to him. But also he wasn't around a lot because he was working all the time. And I'm not to say that's a bad thing about him. Like he had to. He was the man of the house. He was looking after his whole family. And in a way, we live such a good life now because of the hard work that it's almost like he sacrificed his life to give us ours now. And I never saw that before. I always almost saw it as like, why is he like, when I come home from school and I've done really well or I've not done or whatever it is, why is he not interested? Why is he, if I remember in primary school, like I'd be in plays and things, why is he never there to see me doing all this stuff? And I think that fear side of it, I always want my relationship with my daughter to be like she can come and speak to me about anything. She should feel comfortable being like, Dad, this is what's going on. Ask me for advice, help, whatever she needs. Whereas I never had that with my dad, for example. If anything, I would go and speak to my mum about things, but even then I wouldn't speak to her about I never spoke to my parents about much at all. But if I was going to, or I wanted something, or I needed something, it would always be to my mum, not to my dad. And
what do you think has caused this shift in fatherhood? Because I'm noticing that a lot with dads, they just want to be present. I'm the same. It would take a lot for me not to go to one of my daughter's events, like a sports day or a recital. It would have to be something really important. If it was just a meeting or not something else work related, I would move it or it wouldn't get booked in. What do you think has caused that shift?
I think 2 things. Like for example, as far as my mum says, my dad wasn't even there when I was born because he was working, which I think for that generation was quite normal though. There's so many people I speak to and they're like, yeah, my dad wasn't there either. And I don't think it's a case of they didn't want to, they had no choice. I think we have the choice now. But I think we have that 2 parts. Number 1, we've experienced what it's like to not have that. And we don't want to pass that to our kids. Like I know what it feels like to have a parent or parents that aren't so involved in your life. And I don't want that for her now. I want to be involved. So I think where we've experienced almost like the bad side of it, we don't want them going through that and feeling the same way that we felt. But I also think, I'm speaking again for myself, like I said, because of what my parents did and how much they worked, they've allowed me to have the life that I have now where I don't necessarily need to stress or have that fear around money like they did as the immigrants coming here. So now if I want to take a few hours off work to go and see my daughter do something, it's not a case of do I go and see her or do I not, or do I struggle to pay the bills this month? So I think because of what they did in the previous generation, it allows us a bit more freedom to be more present with our kids. So there's both sides to it. And yeah, for me, it's just I never want her feeling like I felt as a kid.
Yeah, I think I know a lot of dads. Most dads that I know have a similar mindset, which I think is a really beautiful thing. I really want to touch on this idea of healing and self-healing and meditation, because I've experienced it with my own father and how he overcame a blood condition through meditation and breathing. And, you know, so much so that when he went to have his checkup, they didn't know how he had done it. And he doesn't take medication anymore. He did it all himself. Tell me a little bit about your understanding of that, how it works, and what the mind can do to the body when it chooses, when you choose to try to help heal yourself.
Well, I mean, that's amazing that he's done that.
Yeah.
That's not easy. You can know all of this stuff and it's still not easy to do. I actually had a client, this is when I used to work with men as well, and he had the same cancer as me, Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he was very much against, he was like, I just want to do it naturally, doing all the meditating, all sorts of things. Like he was buying all this equipment to like oxygenate his body and everything, and he done really well with it. But even knowing what he knew, still didn't fully work for him. So for your dad to do that is amazing. I think there's a brilliant book around this. It's called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. I don't know if you've ever come across it.
No.
And this is, I read that book and it blew my mind, and it's kind of how I see this way of self-healing. And the premise of that book is essentially how your thoughts and your thought patterns manifest into illnesses physically. And this woman, Louise Hay, she's amazing. Like, she's been through it in her life. She's been like raped. She's been trafficked. She's had all sorts happen to her. And it's insane to see how she had physical issues as a result of all of that trauma, and then how naturally she managed to treat it. And she does it all through her thought patterns and rewiring her brain. And almost like when you're talking meditation, for example, that's almost calming the brain to a certain degree, right? I know we can think about it all as just being blank in the mind, etc., but it's almost allowing your brain to be a bit calm, which can then almost give you clarity. If we're talking about it more on a spiritual level, I personally haven't, but I know of people that have meditated and they've almost felt like they've left their body, pretty much. So meditation's it varies, but essentially it comes down to our thoughts and how they're manifesting physically. And for example, in this book, You Can Heal Your Life, at the back of it, it's got like this index, and it basically lists out, and it's like, the index is about this thick, so it's a lot of pages, and it lists out pretty much every illness or physical ailment you can think of. And then next to each one, it says the thought pattern that causes that to manifest. And then next to that, it gives you an affirmation to repeat to rewire that thought pattern.
Give me some examples. Do you know any off the top of your head?
So for example, acne, I know it's not like a massive illness, but it's still a physical problem for people, right? And it says acne stems from when you don't find yourself attractive. Like when you're looking in the mirror and you're like, oh, you're ugly. Or sometimes you're saying these things to yourself and you're not even realizing it. And that results in breakouts on your face because you're manifesting that. If you're saying you're not attractive and you're ugly, that's what's going to be reflected back to you. And I can't remember the exact affirmation, but it was around obviously telling yourself that you're not and that you're beautiful and all of this. So until I read this book, I never even thought of it in that way. And that's when I started thinking how powerful the mind is. But then it goes both ways, because if the mind is that powerful that these kind of thoughts or thought patterns can manifest negatively, then it's also powerful enough for things to manifest positively. Yeah. And that's where we really need to start paying attention to what we're saying to ourselves and in our minds.
Tell me about some practices that you do to keep yourself in a positive mindset.
So journaling, like I mentioned, every day. I mainly like gratitude journal. I feel like for me, and I know a lot of people talk about gratitude, but for me, I really need to practice it. I'm the type of person, I can spiral a bit. So gratitude almost brings me back to earth a little bit. Meditation, definitely. I like meditating first thing in the morning as opposed to at night. I'm the type of person, again, who wakes up and my mind is like it's just going from the second I'm awake. So it helps me just have some calm to it before everything else kicks off. One I haven't done recently, but I used to speak out affirmations a lot. I used to actually stand in front of a mirror and speak to myself. And I don't know if you've ever tried it, but you
I still do it.
yeah, you look yourself in the eyes and you say things, and
Yeah.
it's quite powerful when you're actually looking at yourself like you're looking at another person.
Yeah.
I think, again, haven't done it in a while, but I used to visualize a lot. Just,
Does
guess
that mean that you're living the life you want to live now?
I guess so, yeah.
It's a good thing.
I can't complain about it, yeah. And I think the things I used to visualize were literally what I live now. Maybe in certain different ways, but I'm content. So I don't have that anymore. So I think for me, though, meditation, journaling, those two, I'd say above anything else that I've done have helped me massively.
For someone who works in the space of helping people to improve their lives, what do you think is something that we should have talked about, but we haven't discussed for helping men who are going through challenges?
I don't know if it's not that we've talked about it, but I honestly think any man who's going through a challenge, therapy, man. Like every man, I feel like if every man on this planet did a lot of deep inner work and resolved some of the issues and the traumas that we deal with, that we sometimes don't speak about for whatever reason, sometimes we're not even aware of them to certain extents. I think men's mental health, number one, would be in a much better place. I think the world as a whole would be in a much better place. Relationships would thrive more. Like, I think it can make such a difference.
Do you think saying you have therapy is just too simple a thing to say? Because people probably hear it all along. You go and see a therapist. The reason I ask you that is because I can imagine when women contact you, they probably don't say, yeah, okay, great. They probably need a little bit of reassurance. You need to create a little bit of safety, a bit of security, some understanding, right? To get them in the mindset that, okay, this person. So do you think something like that is similar for men, right? You can't just say, go and see a therapist. It's about...
You have to be ready for it.
You have to be ready for it. Which leads you on to, how would you help a man become ready for it?
I guess in a sense, a community style, where I think men have to be more open to talking to men a bit more, if that makes sense. I feel like even with like me and my friends, we don't, I mean, we do now to a certain degree, but growing up, like, you never really talked about issues or problems or even how you're feeling or anything like that. I think just being more open to it, and I guess for some, it's having some form of a community where they feel comfortable enough to do that, and having those relationships. Like, I can get with like groups of boys, it might not be the cool thing to do, or you might be seen as weaker. Whereas if there was another outlet or another place that they could go to and actually necessarily not even speak themselves, but hear other men, like even what we're doing now, if other men were to hear the things we're speaking of, it might make them feel more comfortable.
Like a meetup group.
Yeah. Something where they can fit, and I don't just mean like online, something physically where they can actually meet other men. Like even when me and you first spoke and we started realizing how many similarities we have in terms of just our thinking. Whereas how you described it earlier, like when I was talking about certain things, you were like, most people will look at you and just be like, okay, he's nuts. But then when you meet someone who actually has a similar way of thinking, then you feel more comfortable talking about it more. Like the things even I've spoken to you about today, I've probably not spoken openly about to anyone previously. But because I feel comfortable that you're going to actually understand what I'm saying, I'm comfortable saying it to you. So I think, yeah, a community in some way, shape or form where like-minded men can get together, because this is one of the things I specifically say to the women that I work with, and we've built a community for women on the THR, where I say it's so important to be around like-minded individuals. In my opinion, there's nothing more important than that, because that's really what's going to create the shift and the change and make you feel comfortable and safe doing that.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. I totally agree. We need more community. We need more people coming together. We need that connection. we need to be off devices and in real life, right? I think that's where the comfort and the community and the openness, conversations, offloading, sharing, listening, the qualities which are, I guess, is how we evolved as humans, are just totally getting lost. So I'm really glad you raised that point, because I totally agree. I really enjoyed talking to you today. I think you're a really inspiring man. And I'm proud of the journey that you've been on. It's hard, man. I know you've shared a lot and you've been very open, very vulnerable, and I really appreciate that. But I know there's so much you went through, right, to rebuild. It's not easy to start life over.
No.
When you think something can get snatched away from you, to then say, oh, actually, I still want to live, right? So you had a shift. How do you want to be remembered?
The people around me, or in general?
You tell me, man. What's important for you?
I guess it's what most of us want, right? I guess I just want to be loved by the people around me, the people that are closest to me, and like actual love. Like I want my wife thinking this is the greatest man I've ever met in my life. I want my daughter thinking this is the greatest man I've ever met in my life. I want to be just remembered as someone that was just great in that sense. I don't know how to describe it.
I get you.
It's like love, I guess. I think that's the most important thing to me. I think where growing up, you might not have felt it so much, even though it was there. I want that to be what's remembered. I want just to be a loved person that just did good. It might sound so boring, but that's how basic it is for me.
It's not basic at all. It's actually an honourable thing to want. It's not always easy to have. It's not always easy to give love in a really genuine way. And I think I've spoken to some great people who have achieved many, many things in their life. When you ask them, what do you want to be remembered? What do you want to leave? Is usually the most simple things. That I was there, or I was loved, or I loved openly, or I helped. Nothing about money, nothing about status, nothing about, had this many houses. It's just the people around them, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much for being so open, for coming down. I know your story is going to impact so many people, and you're a true inspiration, man. So thank you for coming down.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you having me, man. This was a different conversation, but I like it.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thanks, brother.